As a former television news reporter myself, I hope you'll notice that in the past 15 years of my political career, I think I've held a total of 3 news conferences. I don't take your time lightly. I don't waste reporters' time, and I understand the kind of deadlines you all work on. And so I'm holding this news conference today because I think that there is so much at stake in the 5th Congressional District race for the future of this state and of this nation that I felt compelled to call you all together today with the good news, the important news we have for the people of the 5th District. I'm very honored to be joined by former Lieutenant Governor John Mutz, a partner of mine, a mentor, a personal friend, a former boss, a guy who I think is the ultimate Republican statesperson here in the state of Indiana. And I have been so honored to have his endorsement, his advice, and his counsel over the past several months as we have launched our effort to provide new leadership in Washington. Today I'm proud to release the complete Murphy Plan. This is not a series of press releases, it's a series of well thought out, balanced policy proposals that will do one major thing for the people of the 5th District. It will produce thousands of jobs by getting rid of regulation, streamlining rules, cutting taxes, and providing the kinds of encouragement incentives that our businesses across the 5th District need to produce the kind of good-paying jobs that our Hoosiers need. Let's face it, folks, Hoosiers are hurting. With an unemployment rate statewide that hovers near 10%, and in the counties of the 5th District, unemployment rates that hover close to 13%, we have thousands and thousands of Hoosiers who can't work. When I first announced my candidacy at the Gatrog plant, I should say the empty Gatrog plant in Tipton on May 26 of 2009, I pointed out then that that factory should have been filled with 1,260 hardworking Hoosiers. Instead, it still sits empty. In fact, as I drove by it a couple nights ago, there was one lonely watchman in the security guardhouse there along the state road. We have to get people in that factory. We have to get people working across the state. I will say that our current governor, Mitch Daniels, has undertaken heroic efforts to try to get people back to work here in Indiana. The Enterdale announcement is just one of those. But we need 20 Enterdale announcements in the 5th District to get people working to the level they should be today. And so today, in addition to the complete plan that we have announced portions of earlier, I released today for the first time the specific jobs portion of it, which includes reforming the Sarbanes-Oxley bill so that small business is not burdened by the incredible rules and regulations and cost of compliance. Ensuring high-speed internet access for all people across the 5th District. I co-authored with Senator Brent Hirschman in 2006 the 2006 Telecom Deregulation Bill, which has produced thousands of jobs, and in 3 years, 102 more communities across the state now have access to broadband that did not have it 3 years ago. We need to complete that job, and we need federal help to get it done. We need to streamline the application process for nuclear plant licenses. Some of you were here in 1981 when Marble Hill was mothballed. We need to get plants like Marble Hill approved and moving across the nation. We need to completely repeal the federal inheritance tax. I have done my best here at the state level. I was able to get rid of the inheritance tax here in the state of Indiana for all estates of $100,000 or less. But you know as well as I do, the federal tax is so much more burdensome than the state tax, and I vow to work to complete that. We will also be endorsing the Fair Tax Plan, which, as you all know, is a consumption-based taxation plan at the federal government level that gets rid of onerous taxes like income taxes and other things, and really comes up with almost like a flat, fair tax. And if we can't get completely there, we will get as close as we can. And ultimately, to help businesses here in the 5th District, like Eli Lilly and their 7,000 employees who live in my 5th District, I want to fight any attempt by the Obama administration to tax the foreign profits of American companies before they are repatriated. I am told that this move alone by the Obama administration, as proposed, could raise the relative tax rate for companies like Eli Lilly from 22 to 35%, make them more likely to be a takeover target, and cost Hoosiers thousands of jobs. The newest jobs proposal in the Murphy Plan is just one part of a larger proposal to create thousands of jobs for Hoosiers. Every single portion of the plan, whether it's energy, education, taxes, defense, agriculture, and jobs, each ultimately points to more jobs for Hoosiers. I also want to thank the people who have been involved in helping put together the plan. We have assembled quite possibly the best policy team I've ever seen in the state of Indiana. Neil Pickett, the governor's former policy director and currently running the think tank at Clarion, is our policy director. Health plan input from people like Mike Smith, the former CFO of Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield, known as WellPoint, Bob Roney, the president of St. Francis Hospital, several physicians, education plan, again drafted by people like Neil Pickett with review by Carol D'Amico and other state government or state education experts. Defense plan input from people like Congressman Ed Peace, Igor Kretzen, formerly of the American Enterprise Institute. Agriculture input from people like Beth Bechtel and Andy Miller. Energy, people like Paul Mitchell, the governor's former energy policy director. So as you can see, I could go on, but we have the best thinkers in the state of Indiana working on this. Of course, the ultimate among them is the former lieutenant governor behind me. I'd be glad to take your questions in a minute. I want to give the former lieutenant governor an opportunity to comment on this plan and the prospects for getting it implemented in Washington when we provide new leadership there. Thank you. Governor?
Mike Murphy, thank you very much. For those of you in the working press who want to refer specifically to the new proposals, they start on page 53 of this brochure. I want to say just 2 or 3 simple things. One, as a member of the Governor's Economic Development Corporation Board, and as the former director of the Indiana Department of Commerce that was responsible for economic development for 8 years, I can tell you that Mike Murphy is the candidate in this 5th district race who knows more about job creation and has had more experience in doing it, both on the job when he worked with me and also during his tenure in the legislature. He is a man with a plan. This particular brochure spells it out, and I think while many people will never read this plan, it's important that people know that this is a thoughtful candidate, an individual who has looked at issues, consulted with other people, so that when he is elected in the fall, he in fact will be ready to move immediately to create jobs for people in the 5th district. Now, I want to say a personal thing in addition to that. Mike and I worked together for a long, long time. I first met him when he was a television news reporter in Evansville. He was covering me back in those days when I was a legislator, later candidate for state office. And then, of course, he later came to work for the Department of Commerce and for the Lieutenant Governor's office in Indiana. And there were a number of really bright and capable people that we were able to attract to our administration. Mike was clearly one of the very best, and he's a person in whose personal integrity I have the utmost confidence. He is a person who the people in the 5th District can count on to do what he says he's going to do, and he's spelled out in some specific ways in this brochure called the Murphy Plan what his intentions are and how he intends to get that done. With that, I hope you'll ask Mike anything you want to ask him. It's really a pleasure to be back in this room again. I haven't been here for a long time, but it's fun to see all of you. 2 or 3 of you were working here actually when I was in office, and you got to be old. That's what I got to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Governor. Before I take questions, I want to ask each of the members of the media and the public who may see this today to hold me accountable for this plan, not just during the campaign, but also when we provide the new leadership in Washington. This is much more than a series of press releases which other people may put out. It's a thoughtful, comprehensive policy plan that I am confident will produce thousands of jobs for the state of Indiana, particularly for the 5th District. Thank you, and either one of us will take any of your questions.